Hi, it's Rob Moore here, and I wanted to talk to you about building your confidence as a property investor. So, having taught nearly 400,000 people, looked into 800,000 eyeballs, I'd say in the top 5 commonmost questions about building your property business is that you've not done it before, you haven't got confidence to raise JV finance, speak to agents, etc. Now, here's the thing with confidence is that every master was once a disaster and every winner was once a beginner. So the journey that you're going on, maybe getting into rent to rent and worried about how to talk the letting agents and the script to use into getting them to corporate let for you, or trying to talk a vendor into a lease option, some of the things you may have some fears, doubts, worries and concerns about. Well, everybody who's ever done any of those type of deals has gone through the same road as you, i.e. there was a day when they couldn't do it, when they worried about it, and they don't anymore. So I want to let you know that the fears, doubts, worries and concerns that you have, everybody has. You're not alone in that. You're not weird. You're not lacking in confidence. And on the note of the thing about whether people are confident or not, in my experience, people aren't either confident or not confident as a person. And I think that's one of the biggest myths that people say, they're confident, they're not confident, they're this, they're not this. The reality is that in the area that they've served, mastered, learned, studied, and have passion for and is high on their values, they're mega confident. In the areas that they've not served, aren't interested in, have not practiced and don't care about, they're not confident. So if you talk to me about property, business, investing, teaching and training and speaking and books and interviews and audios and podcasts and whatever else, I'm pretty confident. I feel pretty good about myself. I have pretty good self-worth. If you got me doing some kind of crazy yoga in a leotard, sorry for the visual, you're not seeing a confident person. You're seeing someone who's at the back of the room, wants to hide and probably can't touch my toes past my knees, and all of a sudden would go introverted and into my shell. And people often say that, they assume I'm a confident person. I'm not. I am confident in the things that are high on my priorities, high on my values, that I've practiced, that I've studied, that I love to do. And I'm not a confident person in everything else. And so it is with you and everybody else. So I want to let you know that you can be great at those things that you fear, doubt and worry about now. You can be as good as the people you look up to and you pedestalize. You just have to follow a process. So that's the next thing is, if you break it down and follow a process, whether it's from a mentor, a coach, a trainer, go on a course, ask in some communities, you hunt out people that have done exactly the thing that you want to do, and you ask them to help you, and you invest in being mentored and coached by them, then ultimately you'll get the results that they get. Now, you shouldn't become someone else and over-pedestalize someone and want to be them, because all that does is makes you compare yourself to them and therefore probably makes you feel slightly inadequate. And one of the drawbacks of really going out there and searching for really amazing people who are billionaires or are hyper successful is that can make you feel that way about yourself, lower and like nowhere near could you ever be as good as them. So the important thing is to find the people who've done the thing that you want to do, who are good at that niche thing, and learn that from them. And understand that there's probably some way you could give value to them. There's probably something that you're great at, that you're confident at, that they're terrible at. And what that does is it stops us over-pedestalizing people and depositioning ourselves. So remember, you're a unique genius and talent, and you have these amazing skills in areas that you've studied and serviced. And the reason I'm telling you that is because anything you want to become in property that you're not quite confident in now, you can become. You just have to learn how to do it. And anything, whether it's viewings with estate agents or making offers or speaking to vendors or trying to use these more creative strategies and where they're a little bit more technical and you've got to use a bit more influence and persuasion and asking people for money and doing joint ventures and all those things, they're all just learnable. The next thing in building your confidence is all you really have to do is think about the next thing that you're going to do. So whether it's send an email to an old friend and say, hey, I was doing something and I thought of you, and do you remember when at uni we did this? Now, you're not saying to them, hey, I want your money off you in 7 meetings time. You're simply doing the next thing. And I remember Richard Denny teaching me once that a no is only a no today. And so the worst thing that can happen in the thing that you're creating in your mind of a picture of what you're worried about doing will probably never happen anyway like that. I mean, they say that 99% of the things that you worry about never actually happen. But they're you predicting and projecting a much bigger event much further down the line, the way it would never be anyway. I mean, you probably wouldn't go on a date and talk about marriage, in the first couple of minutes after the first drink. And all you should really do when approaching vendors, JV partners, going on courses where maybe you feel a bit out of depth, or you're a beginner, or you're new, or you're going into a new strategy that you've not used yet. If you just think about, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? And anything that you've got in the back of your mind in terms of I'm not credible, I haven't got any experience, I haven't got any properties yet, they might not take me seriously because of this story, this past, that past. You don't have to think about that, because all you're trying to do in that moment is make a good enough impression at that point so that they don't block you from Facebook or never want to see you again the next time. So it takes roughly 7, 10, 12, maybe a few less meetings and touch points if you're more sort of direct into business and you haven't got a lot of time to make a transaction. So if you imagine it takes, let's say, 7 times of dealing with a vendor or an estate agent or a client or a customer or a JV partner or a financier to go from kind of cold first chat, email to, exchange of money or service. So you only need to get to the second touch point after the first touch point, and that's easy to do. And in fact, the less you're thinking about the money and the end goal at point 7, 8, and 9, at point 1, the more engaged, the more present, the better you listen, the more you focus on them, because you can't focus on you because you don't have too much knowledge or experience yet. I guess I would just say, you can do it. There's someone that's done it already. Find them, get mentored by them, follow their systems and processes. See everything as just the next step, which is easy to do. You don't need any books, courses, or DVD home study training programs on being a good listener or being a good person or being likable. You can do that. Everyone can do that. Remember that you're a great person and you're a very skilled individual just in the things that you're doing, and therefore you can transmute those skills or learn those skills into property. The worst that'll happen is you just won't get to that second meeting. Also, to a certain degree, property and business is a numbers game. If you had 50 people in your Outlook contacts and you emailed them all saying, hey, I did this and I saw this and I thought of you and, just want to say hi, and 25% of them might reply. And then you might send another message and 15 of them might meet you for a coffee, and 10 of them might stay in touch, and 5 of them might be interested in doing business with you, and 3 of them might actually give you money or do business with you. Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? It's a pretty simple equation. If anyone can do this, you can do this. If one person can do this, any person can do this. The great thing about property, creating multiple streams of income, is so much easier to learn the skills. Because if you wanted to be a basketball player and you were 4'6", I can do all the motivation to you I want, but you're up against it. There's no physical limitations here. I mean, Steve Evans built a big portfolio. He's blind. Luke Hamill built a big portfolio. He's in a wheelchair. There's no physical limitations here. There's no sort of experience limitations. I've got people who've got degrees and MBAs and MBEs who've made success in property and not. There's also people that kind of quit school when they were 16, have become successful in property and not. There's people in the progressive community who aren't even 18 who are packaging deals. There's people who can't even get a mortgage because they're over 65, they're still doing property deals. So I've seen too many people succeed that you think probably shouldn't have, or it was up against. I've also seen people who looked like they had everything going for them and didn't do anything because it was too comfortable. So remember, if anyone can do it, you can do it. You follow the systems and the processes. And use the community. If something goes wrong, ask someone. Hey, did you experience this? I made a mistake here. How can I correct it? Like, if you see everything as a test or everything as an iteration or a tweak, then you never fail. You go on a viewing, you have a little chat with the estate agent, just see that as a test. If maybe if you say something silly or you're putting an offer that's too low, you go, okay, well, version 2 needs to be slightly different. I need to work on my script, or I need to work on my rapport. Or everything is just a constant test all the time. And when you see it like that, you're not attached to this outcome, because often the reason you're feeling a lack of confidence or a lack of results is because you've got this naive delusion or this big fantasy of how big it needs to be or how perfect it has to be. And often perfection is the enemy of greatness, because in your mind you think you're a failure because you haven't achieved something that really you're not ready to achieve anyway. Everyone has a story, everyone has baggage, everyone had something that happened to them when they were young, everyone doesn't have enough money, doesn't have enough time, doesn't have enough experience. We've all got that story, we've all got our own unique challenges, but you've also got a lot of your own unique gifts, some transmutable experience in other areas, some credibility in some other areas. And if you start focusing more on the things you have rather than the things you don't, I think that'll give you that little bit of a boost you need to just get out there and just take that next step. And the final thing I just want to share with you on confidence is, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about you. You're gonna have critics as you grow and become successful. People are gonna judge you anyway. So why don't you just be yourself, do what's right for you, do what's right for your family, have fun, don't take yourself too seriously, just go and enjoy the process, because you'll look back in a few years when you're successful and you'll nostalgically look at how fun it was and how exciting it was and how maybe naive you were. I was definitely naive when I started, and you'll probably have a little bit of nostalgia in the early days when you were full of hopes and dreams and you hadn't been sort of burned down by the commercial realities of it all. So just enjoy that process, enjoy that moment, accept the fact that you'll have critics. Don't worry about pleasing everyone. Please the people you want to please your fans, please your followers, please your family, please yourself, and I think you'll have a great time. I believe in you. And remember, I can just say this without blowing smoke up you, because I've seen 400,000 people get into this game, and I've seen a load of people succeed, and I've also seen a load of people fail, and I've been spending the last decade trying to work out why and reverse engineering it and creating trainings for you and videos for you that can help you get the best results and understand that process, and I've shared some of them with you.